Hey everyone, I'm Alexa and I'm an occupational therapist at Emerge Pediatric Therapy. And I'm so excited to be here at our brand new second location here in Cary, North Carolina, right off of Highway 55. So today I'm going to be talking about children who have sensory processing difficulties and strategies that you can use at home to help them with that. So some background information on sensory processing. We have a total of 8 different senses. 5 of them you're probably already familiar with, our sense of hearing, taste, touch, smell, and sight. And 3 are kind of our hidden senses. So one of those is our proprioceptive system, which gets information about our body position based on getting the input when we contract or stretch our muscles and joints. We have our vestibular system, which is our movement sense, and then our interoceptive system, which is our ability to internally sense what's going on inside of our bodies. Am I feeling hungry, cold, tired? Do I need to use the restroom? And so sensory processing problems are common in children with ADHD and autism, but they can also affect kids who don't have any diagnosis. Sensory processing problems, they are neurologically based and they have a significant impact on the child's ability to go about their daily routine and can really interfere with their self-regulation and their ability to have successful relationships with others. We oftentimes might see kids who appear to be acting up or misbehaving, but really they're just kind of uncomfortable in their bodies and feeling overwhelmed based on their these sensory processing differences. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the tactile system, or our sense of touch, which is located all over our skin. And these skin cell receptors take in information about our light touch, deep touch pressure, vibration, temperature, and pain. And every single activity that we do in our daily life relies on getting accurate feedback from our tactile system. So things like going to play outside, doing chores, getting dressed, eating, all of these rely on accurate feedback from the tactile system. And if we're not getting that accurate feedback, then we might see the child has some difficulty with their self-regulation and their ability to complete the things that they need to do throughout their day. So some problems that can occur with the tactile system include the child feeling they may be over-responding to touch input, where they really dislike certain types of textures. It can be really distressing for them and sends the nervous system into the fight, flight, fright, or freeze mode. And then another child might under-respond to tactile input, where they're not getting enough of that input, and so they're seeking it out excessively. They might be mouthing, putting lots of things in their mouth, getting their hands on everything in the store, can't stop touching the walls. They might be hanging on you. They might be really messy and always coming home looking like they rolled around in dirt. So they're seeking the input that their bodies need, but not always in the most appropriate ways, and that can be really stressful for parents. So one of the most effective ways to help with this is to enroll the child in swimming. Swimming offers a lot of really great tactile feedback to the whole body as they're immersing themselves in the water. So that's always been a really helpful and effective strategy for many of our parents who have children who under-respond to that tactile input. We also can use Lycra material to give the child a lot of whole body compression input and tactile input. We have something called these body socks, which has a hole in it for the child to get inside of, and they can wrap themselves around it, stretch in it, walk around, and get a lot of that feedback that way. So that can really help them feel a lot more calm and organized and not needing to seek that extra tactile input in other ways. We might recommend having the child use a fidget while they're in the store to keep their hands busy instead of touching stuff at the store. And we also might recommend something called a sensory diet, which are specific activities that are set up throughout the child's day to help with their sensory processing. So that might look like, for a tactile seeker, that might look like waking up and doing a log roll to the bathroom, having a breakfast full of crunchy or chewy foods, going for a swim before lunch, and then doing homework in a body sock. An occupational therapist can help you create an effective sensory diet for your child if you're having a hard time figuring out what are the just right types of activities that my child needs to help support their sensory systems. So, another problem that can go wrong with the child's tactile system is that they may over-respond to that tactile input. This looks like children who dislike touching certain fabrics or wearing certain fabrics on their clothes. They might not like getting their hands dirty or having their teeth brushed or hair combed, and they may avoid certain textures of food. So the child is subconsciously viewing this type of touch input as dangerous or painful, and it sends that nervous system into that fight, flight, fright, or freeze mode. And so you can imagine how really stressful this is for the child and what a significant impact this has on their mental health, because they have to wear clothes all day that they feel uncomfortable in. They have to interact with an environment that is unpredictable. You never know when somebody's going to accidentally bump into you, or if I might squish some mud and get it in my shoe on the playground, or getting some wood chips stuck in there. So you can imagine how stressful this is for the child and how much that can impact their self-regulation throughout their day. So some ways that we can help with a child who over-responds to that tactile input is engaging the child in a lot of different kind of messy play and having them improve their tolerance for interacting with a bunch of different kind of textures and materials. So I have some shaving cream over here with me, and initially the child may not really enjoy touching this messy kind of shaving cream with their hands directly. So what you can do is you can give them a paintbrush and have them play with it using the paintbrush instead of using their fingers or hands. Then you might use a car or a toy to make tracks through the shaving cream, but still not having to touch it, but they're getting a little bit closer to it. And then you can eventually have them kind of interact with their finger, and then to where they're comfortable with fully kind of putting their whole hands and getting really messy in it like that. So we want to meet the child where they're at and not pressure them to touch something that they don't want to, but really making it into a fun experience to help kind of desensitize how they feel interacting with that input and feeling more comfortable with it rather than avoiding it out of fear. So children who are over-responsive to feedback, to tactile input, also really can have a significant difficulty with wearing certain types of fabrics of clothing. This is a really major issue that affects a lot of kids. So they might be bothered by their tags in their shirts, buttons, not liking the feeling of buttons on their skin. The seams in their underwear or socks might be uncomfortable. So what we can do is compensate and meet the child where they're at. We might look for tagless shirts or seamless underwear, or providing them with soft socks and having them wear them inside out so that the seam doesn't have to touch their feet directly. We might recommend that the child tries using compression gear or athletic wear under their clothing to provide some deep pressure input to counteract that uncomfortable feeling of their clothes on touching their skin. So if we're using these strategies, then you might see the child improve their tolerance for wearing a variety of different types of clothes and having less of a struggle in the morning getting dressed every day. And then the last thing I want to touch on is providing the child with deep pressure compression input if they are over responsive to that touch input. So what you could do is you could use a weighted blanket or a weighted lap pad to help calm the child's nervous system using deep touch pressure. For example, while they're getting their hair cut. Some kids can become really escalated and don't like the feeling of having their hair cut, and can be a really traumatizing experience for them. But if they have on that deep pressure with the weighted blanket or lap pad, that can really help counteract those anxious feelings. You might give the child a big bear hugs or big massages before they putting on uncomfortable clothing in the morning. And you can also give them big playful squeezes under pillows or cushions at home using some nice deep pressure compression input. So to wrap up, it's important to know that we all have our own sensory profiles and unique ways of processing sensory information and how we respond to it. Where OT intervention may be indicated is when these sensory processing problems are so significant that they're really impacting the child's self-regulation and ability to engage in their activities that they need or want to do throughout their daily life. So So if you have a child who you would like to help manage problems related to their sensory processing, then you can visit our website at emergepediatrictherapy.com and schedule a call with one of our therapists who can guide you in the right direction. We would love to work with you and help you guys in any way that we can. So thank you all for tuning in, and we would love to see you next time with our next Tuesday's Talks, Tips, and Tricks series.